From the very first scene in Unbreakable, we are treated to a masterclass in directing and cinematography. Watch as Shyamalan brilliantly stages and blocks this scene from the perspective of a mirror. That's right, the reflective glass that the majority of the scene is shot through is used to highlight Samuel L. Jackson's character's condition. This is a striking and utterly genius directing choice used to make this one shot not just more visually interesting, which it does, but to give a glimpse at who this person is. Nearly every shot and scene in the film shares this dedication to wonderful artistic choices. There are so many ways to get the point of a scene across. You can use sweeping camera movements, long one takes, even audio cues. So let's go through some of my personal favorites to prove that Unbreakable is M. Night Shyamalan's best work. This might be my favorite scene, not just because there's gore and I love movie gore, but because this is the one scene with gore. Shortly after the opening with Glass being born, Bruce Willis's David is on a train that derails. He wakes up in a hospital and looks completely fine, but in the foreground of this image is a white sheet that he continually stares at.
Your train derailed. Some kind of malfunction. They only found 2 people alive so far. You and this man.
Turns out it isn't just a random sheet that can move on its own. This sheet is covering the only other survivor from the train crash who dies before our very eyes. As the person dies, the camera pushes in on David, who is told that he is now the only survivor. It's a haunting way to display the drama of what has happened to him, made even more haunting by the scene fading into David walking out of the hospital, passing the countless family members of deceased train passengers. All of this is executed in only 2 shots. Pairing them together makes for one of the most tragic and heartbreaking sequences in the film. All these people who are hoping beyond hope that their loved one might have survived get to watch as the only person who lived walk out unharmed. If I was David, I'd be so awkward saying hi and nodding to people and shit, but David isn't like that. In fact, David and his wife still aren't even able to hold hands as they walk past these families who are now 1 member short. It's truly stunning filmmaking that never fails to make me emotional, despite so little time spent with these characters. What Shyamalan has done in the opening minutes of the film is nothing short of brilliant. In only 3 scenes, he has established a baby with glass bones by shooting a handheld one take through a mirror, the potentially unfaithful and depressed man who takes off his wedding ring and tries to pick up a girl, observed in an unbroken take by a set of innocent eyes through the seats. And finally, he has shown in a twisted oneer that David went from one of 2 survivors down to just 1, underlined by him walking past the family members who wished he had died and their loved ones had lived. And none of it's a joke. It's deadly serious, and it's a miracle that it not only works, but works unimaginably well. Just a masterclass in directing and setting up your film. Literally every element is perfect, and it doesn't end here. No, there's still 90 minutes left for us to study.
The thing that makes it very, very special is its realistic depiction of its figures. When the characters reached the magazine, they were exaggerated.
Oh, okay. I see what you did there.
Most of this scene is shot through this old tube TV. The child version of Mr. Glass doesn't want to go outside anymore because he's afraid of being hurt again. Understandable. I would want to sit at home and watch TV all day too if every time I sneezed I threw my back out. Wait, that is me actually. Anyway, thanks to his mom's encouragement, his perspective and ours changes. We suddenly cut from the TV to a present outside on the playground not far away. So why make the choice to shoot through the glass of a TV only to abruptly cut away? It's incredibly bold to have as many unbroken takes as this film does, but shooting through these bizarre framing devices is something else entirely. It's like that one time James Gunn shot a fight through Peacemaker's helmet, except that's most of this movie. I figure that Glass feels trapped by his condition, trapped by the very glass that makes up his body and this TV. He fears going outside, and the TV is almost holding him hostage in a sense. It's as easily breakable as he is, and yet it represents more than its own fragility.
They call me Mr. Glass at school because I break like glass.
He'd rather stay inside, locking his time away into things like TV rather than explore the outside world, until his mom changes his mind. Moms are insane at doing that, right?
I bought a whole bunch. There'll be one of these waiting for you every time you want to come out here.
The allure of this present, which happens to be a comic book, is enough to shake him out of his fear. Suddenly, the camera switches from showing the characters as seen through the warped perspective of a TV back into reality. This present, and ultimately comic books, gives him some sense of self. From here on out, he devotes his time and energy to these comics. They become his reality. This mix of avoiding reality and being tied up in comics warps his mind, just like video games do to anybody that plays them. I'm kidding. But the reality of this film is depressing and emotional. I need to crack some jokes to liven it up, or I will kill myself. It's no wonder Elijah wants to avoid this reality through TV or comics. David is attempting to do the same thing. He's not living up to his potential, leading to depression and difficulties at his home. Culminating in this scene when his kid points a gun at him.
You are about to be in big trouble! Now, I am your father, and I am telling you to put that goddamn gun down right now!
He wants so badly to prove that his dad is special that he threatens to shoot him. The tragic part of the scene, though, is how David responds.
If you pull that trigger, that bullet is just going to bounce off me, and I'm not going to be hurt. But then I'm going to go upstairs, and I'm going to pack, and I'm going to leave for New York. Because I thought we were just starting to be friends for real.
But the strong directing choices continue with this long one-take shot pivoting between the three characters. It's shaky and handheld, amplifying the fear and tension that they are all feeling. But the second David resolves the conflict and peace is more or less established, the camera stabilizes. The motion itself smooths out and the scene comes to a smooth conclusion. Nothing flashy or over the top, just great filmmaking to emphasize the emotion of a scene. Nice.
I'm assuming you've never been injured. Would I be wrong in that assumption?
Dad's been injured.
Is the child correct?
Yes, sir. In college, I was in a car accident.
Was it serious?
He couldn't play football anymore.
That's hole number 2.
Here's another excellent scene of simple directing choices elevating a scene. David and Robin Wright go on a sort of first date to rekindle their love. The camera starts from way across the restaurant in a decidedly unintimate way. They ask basic getting to know you questions like,
Rust color paint or wood?
I didn't know that. Mine's still brown.
It's a typical awkward first date type of scene, and I would know a thing or two about that. Anyway, their conversation is as broad as the shot is. However, as they start getting deeper and more intimate with their conversation, the camera pushes so far in, only they are left in the frame. The whole restaurant melts away, leaving only them together, sparking their love once again.
I never would have wished that injury on you. What you could do physically was a gift. I never would have wished it to go away.
And it works so well because the characters are informing the direction and the artistic choices. Another great example of this effective filmmaking is this now infamous scene of glass falling down the stairs. A wonderfully tense sequence capped off after he follows a man who David identified through some sort of premonition to be carrying a gun. He chases him until he reaches...
my old enemy. Stairs.
We get this close-up of the fear on his face, followed by this low-angle movement down the stairs. They're like a horror movie monster to him. He tries to move down them as fast as possible, but ultimately slips. What happens next is a wonderful display of fluid camera work and symbolism. It's straightforward. He falls down the stairs and the camera swirls to match his perspective, but it's also easy to understand. The glass cane smashes on the stairs just as his fragile bones do. Simpler to execute than some of the other scenes, but these excellent choices elevate the scene big time through visual storytelling. There's no, oh my glass bones, they're broken. Instead, it's just his cane falling, shattering. What I love about the symbolism in this film is that it isn't exactly subtle, and yet it's not too on the nose either. His follow-up to this film, Glass, takes things way too far.
Yeah.
The colors identifying the characters are blown completely out of proportion, and the symbolism of shooting certain characters certain ways gets too extreme. Amping up the colors does little to make the symbolism work any better. It's just more color. Unbreakable, on the other hand, is all about his symbolism through the character's point of view. I'm in love with how subtle and simple some of this film's execution is. One of the best moments of blink and you'll miss it is here. Elijah leaves a message for David about his potential kryptonite. David starts listening, but scoffs and turns to leave. But listen to the audio.
For some reason, you and I react the exact same way to water. We swallow it too fast, we choke. The point of all this is we now know something we didn't. You have a weakness. Water. It's like your kryptonite. You hearing me, David?
Huh? Oh, come on! You gotta admit this is cool!
From the staticky telephone receiver, the audio sounds how you'd expect, until David turns and actually starts to listen to what is being said. Slowly, the audio goes from the grainy phone audio into crystal clear studio quality sound.
For some reason, you and I react the exact same way to water. We swallow it too fast, we choke. The point of all this is we now know something we didn't. You have a weakness. Water. It's like your kryptonite. You hearing me, David?
A completely brilliant touch to simply show David's interest level in the phone call. Something so easily overlooked, but shockingly powerful. Unbreakable toes this line between too on the nose and too subtle perfectly. Shooting the man with glass bones through glass might be too much, but it balances it with dramatic choices that take us away from the glass objects, just as Elijah's mind is taken off of them. Unbreakable manages to have David's superhero cape as a green poncho to deflect the very water that could harm him, losing even more subtlety with the giant security letters lining his back. Yet it doesn't feel on the nose. It works because it's informed by the character. He's a man who works at a security job, who is afraid of water, and is haunted by his past, which means he would likely dress exactly like this, making the lack of subtlety completely understandable and much more fun. These character choices are what makes the film work. The people are what inform the symbolism. We, like David, want to believe he's as special as Elijah says he is. We even like Elijah because he compliments our hero as his direct opposite, his condition automatically making him sympathetic, and scenes like the stairs make us feel empathy for him. What M. Night has crafted is easily one of the best superhero films ever made, and it's not connected to anything but his extraordinary characters. I'm not sure how we've lost sight of what makes films like this so special. The artistic choices, the emphasis on character, and most of all, visual storytelling is what makes film so powerful.
We need superhero movies and movies in general to be more like this.